A lot of people don't even notice when they've already moved on to the second phase of burnout out of the 12 possible. And that's because they're a little bit intertwined. The second phase is usually referred to as hustling like it's a sport, and that's emotional exhaustion. Working harder or the time is money phase is when you've hit into the lean in culture that so many of us have heard. You also might have heard of perfectionism. Social expectations contribute to this phase. Particularly, this hits for women. So, a lot of women tend to fall into this phase quite quickly from the first one. The hustle culture is glorified, usually by late stage capitalism. And it tells us that success usually comes from relentless effort. Now, post COVID, or what people refer to as digital age, is being consistently available. And it has blurred boundaries for us between labor and rest, especially for millennials and Gen Z. Why? Because we fell into the context of 2020 when our careers really were starting to take off, or when we finally started to find a niche for what we were liking to do. So, just as we were starting to gain traction in what we like to do or our skill sets that we were starting to get comfortable with, we found COVID in our laps and we all got sent home to work. And when we got sent home to work, we didn't have boundaries of when work ended and social time began for us. That was taken away. And we also had to navigate student debt and unstable housing and precarious employment. And 5 years later, we're still navigating that. So people lost jobs during COVID and were put on furlough. And we didn't know when people were going to have the proper equipment to work. And we stood in lines to get into grocery stores. And that was all fun and games. Now we are going out and spending money because we were so restricted at that time in our lives. It has grown our debt, and our national debt has grown, and inflation is out of control. And now we have personal debt that we don't know how to take care of. So those boundaries that were blurred, we don't know how to establish because now we feel at least that we have to work ourselves into the ground because of the situation we're currently in. That all seems familiar, then you've probably either been in phase two or you're currently in phase two of what burnout really is. So, treating overwork like it's the Olympics when you're competing for a medal that's really not there. I mean, at this point, your work overload has probably become very much unmanageable for you. And you probably can feel compelled to keep working this kind of schedule or working multiple jobs despite being tired, whether it's physically or mentally, and emotionally exhausted, and probably near collapse, whether it's at night you fall right to sleep or you're falling asleep on the couch or you can't sleep at all. You probably experience guilt for taking time off of work. You probably experience guilt if you actually engage in leisure activities because you feel like you should be working instead. Um, you feel like you should probably be productive, and that's not seen as productive anymore in your eyes. This can also actually relate to feeling childhood trauma could be resurfacing for you. I think COVID in my opinion, made a lot of things come to the surface that none of us really dealt with. And feeling like rest equals failure could have been something that was in your household. You might have been praised only when you were actually productive and efficient. I experienced this one time being in someone's house, and everybody was hanging out and lounging, watching TV. And then when the dad came home, literally everybody got up and was acting as if they were being productive and doing something. And I had never seen that before. Um, you might have been learned as a kid that being good or being helpful earned you praise or avoided you being punished. So you might equate your value to relentless effort, ignoring your need to actually rest, such as coming home from school and being super tired because you might actually have learned a lot that day. There was a lot crammed into your day. And when you came home, you wanted to take a nap and not being allowed to take a nap. So the real challenge here is emotional exhaustion and feeling tired and being so emotionally and mentally tired that uh, you can't actually put real meaning into work or your relationship with other people. So imagine your phone, if you want to reframe it, imagine having a cell phone for a couple of years, and every time you charge it, it never actually gets to 100%. It only ever gets to 70%. It never fully recharges because the system itself is actually malfunctioning. That's the same thing with you. So, in essence, that is the phase 2 of burnout. If that sounds familiar to you, there's a couple of things that you can do. The first thing you can do is realize that you can't just be productive all the time. Being productive 12 hours out of your day leads to you being totally exhausted. There's a part of you that actually needs to recharge and do things for you. A lot of times you're going to hear people say, I need to put into the cup in order for me to be able to pour out of the cup to other people, right? If my cup's empty, I can't give to other people. The same thing applies here. If you give 12 hours out of your day to a job, working, or to multiple jobs, there's no time to actually refill the cup in order to keep giving to that job. So eventually, you're going to have an empty cup. You can't keep overworking yourself. So, what you need to do is build boundaries. Just like the first phase, you need to understand that there's a time and a place to work and a time and a place not to work. So, for phase 2, your PTO, my recommendation is use it. It's not there to collect. You don't get a reward for not using it. And when you get to the part where you feel guilty when you use it, you know you have a problem. If you get to the point where you're using your PTO, but you're actually working during those hours, you know you have a problem. So start using it to do activities for yourself. Don't use it to, um, I don't know, only for sick days for your kids. Don't use it to go and help someone else and not yourself. Actually take a vacation day for yourself to do something for yourself. And it might be to rest all day just for you. It might be, I used to play baseball in high school and I haven't played baseball since. Go to the batting cages by yourself. It might be, I really love to read and I don't get to read. Go to the library. You don't even have to read a whole book. Just go to the library for yourself and sit there and read. Just take yourself out of your environment and put yourself in a totally different environment that you haven't been in. Might be, probably should be exercising, but I don't exercise. I don't belong to a gym. Go to a park and walk. really wanted a dog, don't have the time to have a dog, go and visit a shelter and pet the dogs for a little bit. Simple things to take you out of your normal routine and put you in a totally different, maybe uncomfortable spot, takes your brain and creates new neural pathways. We'll talk about that in a different episode, but for now, get yourself out of being comfortable and out of being a machine and do something new. But create boundaries for yourself. At this time, I log off and I don't work after this time. At this time, I take a break every day and I leave the building and I take a walk from 10 to 10:15 and I don't talk to anybody and I don't look at my phone. I literally walk to the end of this block and I walk back. At this day, at 6 o'clock every day, I log off of my computer. And if I'm tied to my phone because the company reimburses my phone plan and I'm salary, I'm letting everybody know that I leave work at 6 o'clock and I stop responding to emails and to texts at 8 p.m. because I put my kids to bed. There's certain things you need to establish. Then I'm taking a PTO day. I'm taking a half day. If you don't want to take a full day, then split them up into 4 hours. I take a half day one Friday every month. And on that Friday, I go to the batting cages. On that Friday, I go and hit golf balls just at the range. I don't even play a game. I just hit balls. Whatever. Do something for yourself to take yourself out of the current mental space you're currently in. Hope that helps. See you on the next episode.